Friday the 13th, 2009 remake.
In-depth discussion, review.
Where we break down the scenes.
Scene by scene.
Talk about the plot holes. Talk about the shots that they did and the shots that they didn't do.
And the shots that took on forever. Alright, let's jump
Huge
right
horror
in.
fans.
Scene 1.
We're gonna jump right into this one.
Alright, so it starts off with a new line.
Oh, they did it in all red.
Black
Thank
and red.
God.
And you're like, oh.
Lately, they've been doing like the regular traditional logos for every single blockbuster movie, but like
now they've been switching it up for individual films, and it's
no, in 09, then they were doing some tight ones. They've always done tight ones where they'll change the logo to dark for like depending on the tone of the movie. So yeah, they did red New Line, and then it did red to red
to the
Paramount
and red, and that's tight with the stars all shooting. It's like,
badass.
oh, a Paramount and red.
And then Platinum Dunes, as we know, the remake Kings
so then
in
it
red.
cuts to the scene, and it's like June 13th, 1980.
Friday, June 13th,
and
1980.
it's like the chick in the woods running through the woods.
Okay, in the trailer, this is one thing that pisses me off about the movie. I like the movie mostly overall, but the trailer, it'll be like, it was Jason's mother voiceover, and she was like, his name is Jason, and this was his birthday. Yeah, they didn't even have that line in the freaking movie. It was like a total tease, like Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, where you thought it was going to be all shot in the hospital. So anyway, it opens up with that as the opening scene, as we know, but it's like flashbacks, and it's like faded out colors to show that it's in the past, and it's raining. She's like, you should have watched him, and you can't even tell what actress
Jason's
it is.
Mom.
It's like half whack. They should have like paid more attention to that. They just did it over the credits. That was stupid.
So then it shows like.
So then the bitch is just like, she's like, you should have been watching Jason, and he's like, and they show him as like a freaking. He's like Jedediah
with
like a big head.
Second of him like running through the woods, and then it cuts back because it's like showing.
And then the bitch whips out an axe and slices her head off, and it's badass.
The screen.
No, and he goes up and he grabs the locket, and it's
footage.
like retarded. And then and she has a machete too. And it's just like, oh, this is how he came of age when he was 12.
Right,
so he didn't drown, I guess. Almost drowned.
Around the side of the
lake. They didn't even show it. They just skipped that part. So then they open up.
He's a hunter-gatherer.
And it's like present day. And it's present day, 2009. And they show the first group of 5 kids.
And it's like Crystal Lake, and it's like, and then it cuts to the kids with the GPS.
Oh, they got all the iconic wood shots.
They're all walking down the trail, but then the 2 kids go to the side
no,
of the GPS.
It's like Benny the Jet Rodriguez from Sandlot, and it's like the James Angry Video Game Nerd from YouTube.
Like the Angry Video Game Nerd.
Wearing a Star Wars shirt.
With the GPS.
And they're like, oh, by my calculations, it should be somewhere over here. And he's just like, calm the fuck down, dude. We're about to be rich as fuck once we find the stash.
Like, dude, man, just freaking, just
chill out. And he's like, I'm gonna chill out. You wanna know why?
He's like, hey, we're gonna put it in the back.
Because rich people chill out.
We're gonna put
I am chill.
We're gonna put it in the back of the truck. And nobody's gonna know a thing, alright? He's like, alright.
And then it cuts to the main couple, Whitney or whatever, and Matt Leinart. And then they're like, let's set up camp here and we'll look for the weed tomorrow. So then they set up camp, and it automatically cuts to the bonfire scene.
No,
badass.
First they stop at the gas station before they get there.
Shut up. What are you talking about? We're talking about the first group of kids, you faggot.
Oh, yeah, go on.
So shut up. And it's the bonfire scene. As we know. Now you made me lose my rhythm. And he freaking talks about Jason. Immediately talks about Camp Crystal Lake.
Yeah, he comes around he's telling the story while he's trying to fix his GPS.
And he was like, Jason was a retard or something.
No, I'm serious. He's around here.
He's like, yeah, he saw his mom get murdered. Yeah, they say Jason, he still lives around here. I swear to God, true fucking story.
Yeah, nobody believes you when I tell you.
And it was like James' video game nerd.
And you're like, wow, that angry video.
And he's like, it's called Camp Crystal Lake or something. And it's badass.
And he's like, dude, Crystal Geyser. He's how many things are named Crystal? Come on, give me a break.
And then Matt Liner's like, I'm gonna take a piss. And he's like, you could drink that, you know. Just a random fact out there. One of those. And he's like, what? Piss is stale, you know.
Piss is stale.
And the secondary bitch is like,
Ew.
you'll never drink my piss. So then the main couple walk off.
Yeah, they're like, where you guys gonna go? To make out?
No, they walk off and it's like an emotion part and he's just like, hey, your mom told me to get you out here. Whitney, the main bitch who gets captured.
And he's like, what? Have sex with your boyfriend?
He's like, come on,
And
let's
you're
get
like,
hammered,
wow.
blow
And
chunks.
he's like, this shit is retarded. Alright, go on. So they go in the woods.
And then it cuts back to them at the bonfire and he's like talking about GPS and technology and like stupid, like technical shit.
Wow,
And
the
he's like
chick's
being
like
specific.
flirting with the other guy while he's talking to him.
Oh yeah, and she's like showing her tits, of course, right out the
And
bat.
then he's
You
like,
gotta get
"Alright."
the tits in a Friday the 13th
And he's
movie.
like, alright, you gotta tell your lame bullshit to someone else.
And he's like, yo, I'm gonna bounce. And then he goes to look for the weed.
Because his
His name's
calculations
Wade.
are correct nowadays.
And then it cuts to like a freaking the rock song. It's
Oh,
like,
yeah, it's
motor,
Motorade.
and it's loud as fuck.
What's your time for flight? And you're like, wow, really? And freaking,
And Elmid hasn't
so
even
then
been
he
playing
takes-
the Friday the 13th theme
so
this
then
whole
he starts
time.
taking a piss while he's listening to that theme. And freaking, then he notices he's pissing on the wheat plants.
Yeah, with the glow stick, and it's a pretty tight shot.
And
it's
he's
a
like,
nice, and it's like under the moonlight. And then
he's
Jason
like,
shows up with a sack over his head.
it's like a total fake ass wheat
Then he
plant.
goes to kill him, and then they cut the camera to like Whitney and the couple walking into Jason's house. No, they did it like old school. It was like kind of like a tribute to the old school. That's why they cut it. But it was the first kill. They should have showed it. I
Yeah,
think.
it was kind of whack.
They should have saved the old school one
into
for
him,
later.
you know, and pushed him.
But the rest of the kills get they
It's totally
amp
cut
it
off.
up as each kill happens, of course.
So, anyways, and then it cuts back to
Main couple goes into the abandoned house,
oh yeah, they go
and it's a
into-
tight set.
Yeah, they just show up in front of the house, and he's like, "Come on, let's go in."
It's
He's
old
like,
school creepy feel.
and he's like, "Man, it looks like this stuff was just dragged here from another century."
She's like, it looks like it's been dragged here from Sag Nasty.
And
That's
you're
what it
like,
meant.
wow, this is a total movie. There you go.
Oh, then they're walking, and he finds this random locket among like thousands of piles worth of freaking trash
Oh, yeah,
in
and
this
he's like,
house in the set, and he perfectly grabs
And
the
he's like,
locket.
"Hey, it
of
looks
his
like you."
Of Jason's mom. It's like, hey, it looks like you. You should keep it.
You should keep it. And you're like, wow.
And then it cuts back to the bonfire and the secondary couple banging in the freaking tent.
And then freaking.
They start hearing a noise.
They hear a noise, so they stop, and they think it's freaking. They think it's the angry video game nerd like whacking in the woods looking at.
He's like, Wade, if you're out there jerking off, that's not cool,
He's
man.
like, dude, that is not cool, dude.
It's like the guy from like that Hillary Duff movie in 05.
Alright, so then he comes out to investigate.
No, then she's like, go out there or else you're not getting any. And he's like, I'm not gonna go out there with the boner.
Alright, so he goes out there with the bone. And then freaking, he's like,
He
"Wait,
walks
come
perfectly
on,
to the
dude."
trail where the weed is, just like
Oh,
the
yeah, and then
setup
he's-
camera.
And then he
That's
says like
behind
the
the
stupidest
bushes
line.
there.
He's like, "Oh man, wait, you found it, dude." Because he finds the glow stick
sucked it.
sitting there.
And it's like Benny.
And then
the
he's
Jet
like, "Where's
Rodriguez.
So then freaking,
Jason.
he sees the.
So no, then it cuts back to the main couple at the cabin again, and it shows the shrine of Jason's dead mom.
Oh
That's
yeah,
when he
and
pulls
that's when he
out the prop head,
the
and it's
dead,
awesome.
Like,
It's-
head. You're
it's
like,
old school, the
oh, he
80s
drops it
prop
in the,
style.
in the tub.
So
in
you
the
gotta
dirty
love
water.
that.
And you're like, "Oh, this is raw." Alright, go.
Yeah, then Jason shows up with a pitchfork, like at the house underneath, and it starts.
Oh yeah, out of nowhere it's me and like Jason's attacking from underneath the floor, like stabbing up. But it's pretty tight because like it's the shot with it's a machete.
Okay,
He
and why
stabs
this
it through his
happened?
hand, and he stabs
Hold
it through
up,
his
I
leg.
think before that happened, he snatches the bitch who is left of the tent and hangs her over the fire, as we know, in the sack. So she's burning over the fire.
Yeah,
It's like
and
a
also
jigsaw
the kids
trap.
in the bear trap.
Yeah, then he runs over to her and gets caught in the bear trap. That's a tight, like, then his leg's all fucked up. It looks tight as fuck.
And you're like, what is
So
this?
then
It's
it
like
cuts-
Chainsaw Massacre beginning.
Then it cuts back to the freaking house, as we were saying, and then he's coming up through the floorboards and grabs Whitney's boyfriend.
It starts
who looks like
pulling
Matt
him
Liner.
down. Starts pulling
Like
him
it's
down.
Drag Me to Hell.
Like it's Drag Me to Hell, and you're like, what is this, Drag Me to Hell?
And then Whitney gets away and she sees what's his name in a bear trap.
And she tries to help him. She sees the dead body of the chick who was
That's when
burning.
Jason shows up and does that first
does
awesome
the
kill.
iconic, like where he comes to slash her. Or no, he cuts the kid's head.
Right in the forehead, and it sticks in like he's stabbing an apple.
Stabs the dude, and then he comes to her and she's on the ground, and he comes up and it's like a low shot looking up at Jason. And it's tight because then he does the swing shot and then it does the cut and then it goes to Friday the 13th. And you're like, oh. And it's
and he's in the
black
sack. That shot's like iconic. They absolutely nailed that. And it cuts to Friday the 13th before you see if he kills her or not. So you assume that he kills her and that they cut another kill. And you're like, why would they cut another kill? Oh, then you realize it's a deeper story. Because it cuts to Friday the 13th in red lettering.
What is this, a movie within a movie?
No, shut up. And then it cuts, and it's like 6 weeks later. And it's 6 weeks later, and it's the Escalade pulling into the classic store.
They're pulling into the classic horror, like in every horror movie where they stop at the gas station in the middle of nowhere. They pull into that store, and they're waiting and getting like just a couple of wires and some gas. And they're waiting in line, and it's the freaking motorcycle guy telling his story.
Okay, let's introduce the main cast now. No.
Oh yeah, it starts off with a Chinese kid who gets out the back.
And you're like, great, it's the token Chinese kid from the 2000s movies. Like every 2000s movie, like had a token Chinese kid. It like took over the token black guy from the 90s.
Yeah, it took over, man. Everybody's like, hey, we need a token Chinese guy.
Because that's cutting edge.
They're like, hey, we need him. Chinks are getting paid high dollar nowadays.
Also, it did the ch-ch pop, like when it showed the Friday the 13th in red, too.
Yeah, that was tight.
Then, what's else, the other cast? It's like, and they do have a token black guy to get killed, and he's a total white,
and he's
like,
and the one white blondie guy is like, hey, man, can you pump the gas? And he's like, what?
How about I pump you back?
No, he's like, he's talking about the black guy.
Sure.
He's like, dude, wow, man, you gonna ask the one black guy to pump the gas? And it's like so
he's
gay.
He's a total dramatic.
Nah, it's like one of those one black guys who's like a total fat.
It's like one of those white black guys. You know those black guys that are whiter than you?
Yeah, those black guys that are whiter than you because they're acting white.
And then,
black.
So then they go inside and the Chinese
they're like
kid,
an Oreo?
Aaron Wu or whatever, freaking grabs like a pile of Trojans and like Fritos and Funyuns.
Doritos and Funyuns.
He's like, your parents don't have Fritos and they definitely don't have Funyuns. Then it cuts to
and
what's
he's like,
his
dude,
name.
I'm not paying for you. Get
and it cuts to
me.
Whitney's boyfriend at the cash register.
And he's
kid
like,
from
hey,
Supernatural.
He's like, can you
Jared
please put up
Padalecki
the pictures of my missing sister? And he's like, hey, I don't know, man. I just work here, you know. My boss, he's a real...
Those lines are just retarded.
It was pretty funny,
No,
actually.
they tried to be funny, but it wasn't.
Yeah, they tried to make it funny, but it wasn't. Strong words from JBM 2005.
And then, so whatchamacallit, the douchebag. We're going to sum up this part right here, then we're going to go to part two.
Then the douchebag behind
clashes with Supernatural. He's like, you going to go here, or...
He's like, hey, you've been yapping your trap for a while now. You gonna buy something or what, man?
He's like, this guy's being
Back
a dick.
off.
And he's like,
dude, this guy's being a dick. And he's like, yeah, it's totally me who's being a dick.
he's just like, alright. And he gets in line. He's like, alright,
And he's
I
like,
want some...
2 waters and some ass. And some gas. And the Arab's like, okay. Alright. We're gonna go to part 2 here of the Friday the 13th remake.